Hello, everyone, and welcome back to The Modern Firm, where we speak with forward-thinking leaders in the tax, finance, and accounting world. I'm your host, Noah Scher, and today's guest is someone who brings decades and decades of business leadership and expertise into the small business world. Bill Litster. He's the founder of Better Biz Info. He is a certified profit-first professional, among many other things. Bill, I appreciate you being here today.
It's great to be here, Noah. Glad to be with you.
Of course. So, Bill, I would love to start with your story. You've held leadership roles in multiple businesses. What led you to eventually start Better Biz Info?
I started out, like a lot of people do, accounting career. I went a different route than most people. I actually went into the technology area and I helped companies convert from old manual systems to technology systems. I did a lot of training. I actually trained NASA, Boeing, IBM, a lot of different companies like that. And eventually I became director of technical training and then president, chief operating officer of a pretty big corporation. But I found, when you work with a big company, it's like you have meetings to decide to have a meeting to make a decision about when the meeting will be where you're going to talk about this thing. And it was ridiculous. And I just remembered working with small businesses, how easy that was. So I went out on my own to actually help small business owners turn their business around, recognize their dreams, realize all the things they wanted to do. And it's exciting because I could have a conversation with them, talk about a few things, turn that ship around in a day or a week instead of forever that it took. So I get a lot of joy out of it. And that's kind of how we got there.
Totally. Totally. Was there a specific moment or pain point that you kind of realized that small businesses needed this kind of support, or what led to that realization?
I had at various times in my career started my own thing kind of on the side or whatever and realized, you don't have all the resources that a big company might have, or you don't have the knowledge or access to things. And I thought, these things in big companies aren't as complicated as people think. They just don't know what they don't know, right? And I figured if I could bring some of that knowledge, put it into a package that worked for a small business owner, there's a little system that enabled them to basically realize what they wanted, why they started their business in the first place.
Absolutely.
Uh, and it worked. We've had a lot of great success. I could tell you story after story about people that went from crazy horribleness to massive success.
Absolutely, yeah. And I think that's also very valuable is that you're genuinely making a difference. For example, my dad works at a Fortune 500 company, and like you said, he has meeting after meeting after meeting and he even tells me for the most ridiculous things, and he sees that
Yeah.
there's no point in it, but you kind of cut out all that fluff when you're working with a small business. Absolutely. So, Bill, I'd love to dive into profit first. For someone who's never heard of it, how would you explain the concept?
Oh, profit first is, if you were to simplify it, you'd say it was a cash flow management system. I would describe it more as a permanent profitability model. If you want to be profitable starting today and be profitable permanently and change your whole life, this is a system for you. If you look at the basics of it, if people are familiar with Dave Ramsey and the envelope system, it's kind of like the envelope system for a business where instead of letting the cash run us, we tell the cash what to do for us. And that changes everything.
Yep.
It's a mindset that changes everything about business and everything about what you do.
Totally. So you've seen this system obviously implemented across the industries. Is there any stories or outcomes that you see happen pretty often or that stick with you?
Oh, yeah. Man, I could tell you a lot of stories, but I'll just two quick ones. I have a client that I have worked with. I'm still working with her, but she was losing money for 14 years in a row. She's in the home health care business, trying to decide if she was even going to survive. And we came in there and worked with her and put her on the profit first system, which at first it was like, how is this going to work? kind of the first thing you get. It's like, how is this ever going to work? But I say, just trust it, trust the system. And, we fast forward a couple of years now, and she just got an offer to buy her business for $3.5 million. And she was so profitable the last 2 years in a row that she's been buying rental houses for cash and trying to figure out what to do with it. And
Amazing.
she's a convert, right? Another company, just real quickly, HVAC company. When they first called me, they were behind with all of their vendors. They couldn't pay their bills. They just got a tax bill for like $35,000. They didn't have the money to pay. They hadn't been on a vacation in years. Like, I don't know how we're going to do this. And, you know, 18 months later, they're calling me, say, you know what? We took our kids on a vacation. We're current with every vendor. We've got more money in the bank we needed for taxes. And we didn't make a penny more in sales than we did the year before.
Yeah.
How does that happen? And then about 6 months after that, they sold their business for a big amount, able to do everything they wanted to do. And the $50 million company that bought them, the owner of that company called me and said, whatever you did with them, I need you to do with us. So yeah, it works.
Amazing.
It works.
Amazing. And that is truly amazing. I love to hear that. Especially a lot of people, they're scared to go to an expert. They're scared to take that investment, take the risk, and everyone tries to do it themselves when they're starting a business. And that's
Yeah.
what leads to failure. You got to go to the experts, people who know what they're doing to see results like that. So speaking of business, Bill, could you break down, how long have you been running Better Biz Info? What's your team size? A little bit about that, and then how you guys are navigating this crazy world that we're in right now with tariffs, and is that affecting your clients, everything like that?
Better Biz Info. Um, we started, officially legally started about 13, 14 years ago. We were doing something similar before that. Um, so, some of these concepts we were implementing with companies we were working with before that, but Profit First put it into a system, and really that's where Better Biz Info took off, is right there. And so, what was the next part of your question?
What's your team size looking like? And then,
Okay.
yeah,
All right. So, team size, what's really nice about what we do is we are extremely efficient. We apply the same principles that we talk to our clients about to ourselves, right? And so we can get a whole lot done with a lot fewer people using some automation, highly skilled, trained people. So we have about 4 people. We're looking to hire a fifth person now, but you would be surprised if I told you our revenue amount with that many people. We're doing fairly well.
that's good.
So
Keeping it lean, keeping the costs down.
yeah, we are.
Totally, totally. So now in 2025, everything is going crazy, whether it's tariffs or new technologies like AI and automation, and everything is just going rampant. How do you see these changes impacting small businesses and the accounting world in general?
As far as the accounting world, I would say everything's an opportunity, because every time something changes, people need a change to become successful in that world. There's opportunities in it. Okay. As far as our clients go, some of the challenges that we see, you know, when there's change, and there always is change, but right now we're going through a lot of change, whether that's tariffs or government efficiency, whatever you call it. There's going to be people that are on the right side of it and people that are on the wrong side of it, right? And it really doesn't matter whether you view the change as good or bad. The impact is still there. So we have clients that are losing customers because they're on the wrong side
Yeah.
of some of the change.
Totally. I think this kind of ties back to every phase in technology. Like when the internet was new, the firms and the companies that didn't want to adopt it, they had to later
Yeah,
on.
the internet. We could talk about, the real estate collapse. We could talk about COVID. Every one of those cycles is pretty much the same thing. Some people will fail and others will innovate. And the ones who innovate come out stronger. So that's a big part of what we did, especially through COVID, and what we're doing now is helping companies to innovate and to understand who their clients are and what makes them great clients and how to find more of them and how to navigate this new world and how to find the opportunities in it.
Totally.
So you may lose
Absolutely.
one for one reason, but it opens up a whole market for something else
Absolutely.
if you're looking.
Positioning yourself in that innovative role but will always pay off
Absolutely.
in the long run. Totally. So, Bill, in your perspective, kind of switching gears here to the small businesses, kind of focusing in on that, what are some of the most common cash flow challenges that you see small businesses face? And then how do you help them implement that? Obviously, with the profit method and everything, but what are some of the biggest challenges you see there?
All right, there are a few, three big ones that I'll talk about. One is number one, the owner doesn't pay themselves. They have this little idea in their head. It's probably been ingrained in most of us since we were just growing up or in school or whatever, that when you own your own business, the owner gets paid after everything else is paid and there's something left over. That's what you get. Well, if you go through running your business viewing yourself as a leftover, you're never going to make it, right? At one point in my life, I owned a franchise and I had a partner, and he called one day and he said, "You know what? We're not very profitable yet. We're kind of new. I don't think you should take any money out of the business until we're profitable." I had 8 kids at the time. And he basically said, "I want you to work for free." That doesn't work. So my mind shift switched from build the business to sell the business. I have to get out of this because I can't feed my family.
Mhm.
Okay. If you're a small business owner and you can't put food on the table, your mind is not focused on how to grow the business. Your mind is focused on how to pay the mortgage,
Absolutely.
right?
Yeah.
Profit first, and the systems that we provide. We one of the first things to do is implement a system where the owner pays themselves, because you're the most important person. If you're not getting a benefit, then the whole thing's going to come down. So that's number one. Number two, undercapitalization. And undercapitalization basically happens when you decide to expand faster than your cash flow allows. Right. And it kind of leads me to the third one, which is they try to scale too soon. I mean, I run into this a lot where a company say, "Well, we're in trouble. We'll just sell our way out of it. We just need to sell more. We just need to sell more." Okay. If you lose $1,000 on every sale, selling more is not going to help you,
Yeah.
right? We've got to get the system so you're profitable on every sale. Then we scale,
Totally.
right? So it's a lack of visibility is a big problem. You don't even know where you're making money. You don't know where your money's going. You don't know where it's coming from. You don't know if you're profitable. And one more I would throw in there is people often get in the grind and they lose sight of why they even started the business. They're all excited when they first go in. "I'm going to help all these people. It's going to be great." And then after a few months of, "How am I going to make payroll? I can't put food on the table. How am I going to pay my mortgage?" It becomes a grind, not a joy. All
Totally.
right.
Absolutely.
We have to remind people, why did you do this in the first place? And if we keep that on our mind, let's build a system to enable that. Yeah.
Absolutely. You got to start the foundations, right? Like you said, if you have a system where no matter how much you sell, you're still losing money, you need to fix that. And then
Absolutely.
also like the thing you said with I've seen that as well, where business owners were like, well, we'll pay ourselves last. And then like you said, you get in that negative mindset, and then everything kind of you're
It
thinking
falls apart.
negatively. You can't work as productive as you want to work. You're stressed. Like it doesn't lead to anything good. So
Yeah.
absolutely.
Because, most small businesses fail in the first 5 years, right? And it's obvious why. I mean, if you can't pay your own bills, you're in trouble. And your spouse is not going to be very kind about that. And if home's not happy, ain't nothing happy,
Right.
right?
Yeah.
So we have to make that work. And
Totally.
there's a way to do it, right? It's just a system. It's just taking control of it instead of letting it control you.
Absolutely. And that kind of ties into my next question is one thing that I see you emphasize, Bill, is coaching and not just,
Yeah.
bookkeeping and everything like that. And so I would ask you, why is that distinction so important to make?
Well, I consider myself, I mean, you use the word coaching, that's a great word. I consider myself a mentor, maybe more than a coach. That's probably because I had good mentors in my life, right? People that actually understood where I was at, took the time to listen to where I was at, and could provide some sage advice, maybe, and help you with that, help hold you accountable to that, right?
Totally.
And that's a critical thing because, I mean, let's be honest, most people just don't know what they don't know. I mean, they may know how to hang shingles on a roof, or they may know how to do all these kinds of things, but when it comes to running a profitable business or hiring employees or scaling a business and all that, that's not in most people's natural skill set, right?
Totally.
So as a mentor, as a coach, we help people with that and we help them to stay accountable to that. One of the things that I find, and this will maybe bring that point home, part of my job, probably half of my job, I would say, is being a psychologist as much as being a business guy. Because most often when I start with a client and they're hurting, in their head, what they're saying is, I'm a failure. I can't do this. If I was better, I could do this. They have imposter syndrome. They have all these things like, I'm just not it. And the first thing I got to do is help them get that out of their head, realize it's not them, it's the system. If they change the system to a successful system, it works, right?
Totally.
So, yeah, and that's what a coach does. That's what a mentor does, is help you to get out of your own head a little bit and start believing in why you got into this and put a system in place that makes what you want to do successful.
Absolutely. And I love that you guys are touching on that. I feel like so many firms and businesses, they neglect that and they kind of just, are straight to the books and think that that's all that matters when everything starts up here,
It's
like you said.
people. Businesses are not things.
Yep.
Businesses are people, especially small businesses.
Totally. Absolutely. Absolutely. So diving into new technologies and everything, I know you're a QuickBooks Pro advisor. How do you see tools like QuickBooks fitting into everything? And are they enough on their own for a small business, or what other tools or integrations would you suggest?
Well, you use one word there that's important, and that is tool. QuickBooks is a tool. Profit First is a tool, all right? We just got to remember they aren't the thing we live for. I mean, they're a tool that helps us to achieve better or to be more efficient or to recognize what's going on. And tools like QuickBooks are extremely important,
Totally.
extremely important. And we give you one example of why it will help illustrate it, right? If you're driving a car, okay, there are three things that happen when you drive a car. You need to know where you are. You need to know where you're going. And then every car has this rear view mirror, right? And we can look through the rear view mirror and see where we were. But we don't drive the car staring in the rear view mirror, right? We glance at it to get some perspective, okay? Tools like QuickBooks, when they're up to date, they give us some perspective, some history, some trends, right? But we need to look at them as trends, input information. It's really critical to use these tools to help us know where we are today, not where we were 60 days ago, but where we are today, right? And we have to understand in our head, where am I going and how do I get from here to there, So we need not only a tool like QuickBooks that helps us know kind of where we are financially, where we were, but we need a tool like a GPS that can say, how do I get from where I am to where I'm trying to get to. Okay.
Absolutely.
And that's where tools like that we have with Profit First, we have a profit calculator, we have things that help you understand if your expenses are going to grow at this level, how do we need to, formulate our revenues to make that work,
Totally.
right? And how are we going to end up buying that car you want or getting the new office building you want, right? It doesn't just happen because you thought, I need a new office building. It happens because that's out there where you're going. You know where you are. We know how things have been, so we chart a course.
That's very good advice. I talk with a lot of small business owners, and I think they think that QuickBooks is just the one tool for everything, and that it's the one-stop shop, and it's going to get everything solved with their books and whatnot. And
It's a
like you
great
said,
tool if you want to look in the rearview mirror all the time.
exactly, exactly. It's a tool to have, but to rely your entire system on that, it's not sustainable, like you said. So with Better Biz Info, where are you guys headed? Like, what are your goals? 5 years down the line, what do you have planned for the business?
Well, we're just about double where we were last year. So that's good. So we have plans, around that to continue that. And we have strategies we implement for hiring and all of that. Um, AI is a big thing right now. Um, I haven't seen people as afraid of anything since the internet came out, and I've been around long enough to remember
Yeah.
all of that. Okay. Or people are like, it's going to take away everything, it's going to destroy everything. It didn't do that, right? And the AI won't do it either. We have to use it as a tool. That word that you used and that word that I continue to use. It's a tool that we can use to become better, to become more profitable, become more efficient. And I think efficient when it comes to AI is the right word. Okay. It's not going to destroy jobs. It's just going to give us the ability to create more jobs or to spend more time in higher and better functions.
Yep. Yep.
All right.
Exactly. I actually run a business where we do that exact thing. We partner with accounting and tax firms to, implement AI and whatnot. And the biggest concern that every single business owner tells us is they think that, AI is going to replace me, my firm's going to go under, like there's going to be no need for me. And that's the first thing we tell them. It's like, no, AI can maybe manually automate some workflows, maybe do some things like that, but accountants are always going to be here. They're not going anywhere. If anything, it's just shifting to accountants being more of advisors and making actual business decisions than typing in data entries.
They will, as much as people are afraid, it's never going to replace people.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly.
And I look at it like this, great if it can take all that tedious reconcile my bank account, record the transactions. Awesome. Right. Because that gives me more time to focus on the why, to help people say, you know, I'll use myself as an example. If my purpose, which it is to help and mentor business owners to become as successful as they want to be and achieve their life goals and dreams. Okay. I can incorporate AI into helping that happen.
Yep.
It doesn't take away from that, it enhances
Exactly.
that. All right. Now, if your whole purpose is to provide jobs to data entry people that only do bookkeeping stuff, maybe you got a problem,
Yeah.
right?
Totally.
But most people have a more noble desire than that. Either it's, take care of their family, become financially independent, to help more people do this or that or whatever it is, right? And if you keep your mind on that, then AI becomes a tool.
Exactly.
QuickBooks becomes a tool to help you progress, right?
Absolutely. Could not agree more.
Anybody who doesn't use AI to write proposals or to do they're missing out, right? Because it can write it in 10 seconds. You can go in and edit it and it'll do it better than you do.
Yep.
most of the time.
Yeah.
Okay. So why do you want to spend 3 or 4 hours doing that when it can do it in 10 seconds and you tweak it and it's out the door and you
Exactly.
have time to do everything else? Think of it
Exactly.
that way.
Yep. For example, my dad, he would send work emails and he didn't even start using, ChatGPT until a few months back. I would go into his office and he's just typing out professional looking emails and taking like 30 minutes to write an email. And I'm like, Dad, just use the tools I have available to you. And at first he was hesitant, but now he uses it for everything. And so we're starting to see that shift versus a few years ago where everyone was scared of AI and scared of automation and everything. But the firms and the owners who are going to come out on top are the ones that are adopting it and taking advantage of it.
Yeah. I'll give you another couple examples if you
Yeah,
don't mind. Okay.
absolutely. Please.
So let's say you get a new client in my world. I get a new client. It happens to everybody, right? And they're in an industry and you want to understand their industry. Well, you can search Google and find whatever you want, try to read 1,000 articles of it, or you can go to ChatGPT and say, explain to me this business and how it operates and what its goals are and what the client base is for it, like you would explain it to a third grader.
Mhm.
And it'll do that.
Yep.
It'll keep it simple and
Yeah,
easy and help you understand. And then it'll
absolutely.
say, hey, would you like more information on anything specific? And you do that. That just saved you hours
Yeah,
of work.
absolutely. Yeah, totally.
And if your goal is to understand the business, you accomplish that. Your goal isn't to spend 5 hours understanding the business. Your goal is to understand the business. Use whatever tool you can use
Yep,
to do
totally.
that.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Totally, totally. Great advice, and I wish more people would hear this. It's something people definitely need to hear more of. Bill, one last question for you is, with your expertise and everything, I think the audience would find great value in hearing this from you. Is what is one piece of advice, that you would give to a business owner who's listening, who is maybe struggling or feeling stuck in their situation regarding numbers or anything in their business? What would it be?
My advice is very simple. It would be first thing, get a savings account and start putting 1% of everything that comes through your door into that savings account. Somebody pays you $1,000, put 1% in there. Somebody pays you $10, put 1% in there. All right. That mindset of putting that aside will change everything. All right. And people say, how can I do that? Well, I would say this. If I gave you $100 and said, go to a show and have some dinner and it'll be great, you could do that. If I gave you 99, are you telling me you can't go to a show and have a great dinner?
Yep.
You still can. 1%, it's not gonna kill you. You will
Yeah.
find a way to make that work. But that 1% will become a bigger number over
Yep.
time,
Totally.
right?
Totally.
And when you get used to that, that 1% can become 2, 3, 5, 10. That's what it's about.
Exactly.
Start the habit of, we can say, make it complicated and say, live on less than what you make. Doesn't have to be that complicated. Just get an account, put 1% in there. You'll find a way to make it work.
Yeah.
You will.
And you'd be surprised how fast that'll add up, compound over time.
It does.
Yep.
It
Awesome.
does.
Well,
And call
Bill,
me. That would be the other thing.
absolutely. You heard it first. So, Bill, I appreciate you joining me today. I think a lot of, firm leaders and anyone who's listening is going to walk away with this having learned something. Where can people find you, if they want to learn more about you or connect with you or about your business or anything like that?
Better Biz Info, Facebook, X, you name it. We're there. Okay.
Awesome.
Bizinfo.com. You can read all about us. You can set up we'll do a free consultation with you for an hour to talk about where you're at, giving you some free advice. Yeah, you get good advice. Hopefully you come back for more. Because if you give me $1 and you get 10 back, why not? right?
Exactly, exactly. Who else is doing this? So I want everyone who's struggling with their finances, anyone, to go check out Bill and check out what he's doing. He will save you money and fix up what you got going on. Bill, I appreciate it once again, and I will be dropping all of your links and everything in the show notes. And I look forward to seeing everyone in the next episode. Thank you, Bill.
Thank you.
Of course, we'll talk soon. Bye-bye.